Absolutely massive Friday show for you. Welcome in. TJ Lang at 3. All Lions past 3 o'clock. But, you know, a weird thing happens when you live in the city of Detroit. Well, I mean, as you get older, you just get tired. You miss things. You go to bed. And these basketball games that tip off after 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, it's just tough for us old folks. But, you know, you'd expect the people who are paid to cover these events to actually cover them. But then again, this is the weird part about living in Detroit. When one school does something, oh, it's something. And when another does it, it's essentially Russian media. So I want to let Rico talk about this because, man, it's weird. I don't see any of the articles about culture. I don't see the word thugs plastered everywhere. Fascinating. So, Rico, you're a night owl. Yes. I've never met someone like you. You're a freak, and I mean that as a compliment. You're a freak. I want you to take the lead on this because, man, I swear there's a growing list of incidents under Juwan Howard that, oddly enough, no one locally thought it fit to discuss.
Oh, and Mike, don't hold your breath because you won't get any of those articles. I promise you, because no one's has brought this up until we have. But last night, Michigan's taking on Arizona State. They're getting their doors blown out, losing by about 30 points. I think it was around 26 points late in the game, 17 seconds left. Arizona State brings the ball up to half court. And the point guard just kind of sits there and dribbles it out. Mike, you've seen it before. Everybody's seen it before. No need to embarrass you. Game's over. Let's shake hands, and we walk away. Try-hard guy from Michigan steals the ball, jacks up a 3. I'm like, okay, that's a little Bush League, but you know what? You're a try-hard guy. You don't really get in the game a lot. They get the rebound. Michigan puts it in there. With 6 seconds left, they throw a full-court press on Arizona State right in front of the Michigan bench. The Arizona State guys are like, are you serious? You're really doing this? Juwan goes to shake hands with Bobby Hurley, the coach of Arizona State. He turns around and, to paraphrase him, like, oh, my God, what the F is going on? And the Arizona State and the Michigan players have to be separated by referees because a little tussle happened at the end of the game. Why? Because basically Michigan violated that unwritten rule. Remember that unwritten rule that Juwan Howard got so upset with Greg Gard about at the end of a game? You don't do this. Yeah, Michigan kind of did that right in front of Juwan. And this is the third time in the calendar year that Michigan has had problems with this handshake line. Remember, Moussa Diabate swung and hit some Rutgers player early in January. And then you had the Wisconsin incident where Juwan swung and hit an assistant coach. And then the players got into a fight. And now you have last night. Oh, and let's not forget the Big Ten tournament the year before when Juwan threatened to kill Mark Turgeon, the Maryland coach, as he was being escorted off the floor.
So here's the deal. I don't want anybody fired. It's not what it's about. But you know what's funny? What's funny is Tom Izzo yelled at a player on national TV, and you would think he physically assaulted and garbage canned Aaron Henry.
He's still in therapy.
People call into question that. I look at Juwan Howard, and this is what I find incredible, okay? Think whatever you want of Tunnelgate. The things that were said about Michigan State football and Mel Tucker, and even worse, insinuated. I find it amazing that Juwan Howard, as the head basketball coach of that school, has had his team captain Mario Kart the AD's car and, quote, looked him in the eye as they decided to do nothing. Mm-hmm. He has hit another coach. He's threatened to kill another coach. He's had a player assault another player in the handshake line. Oh, and by the way,
multiple times.
Has his players go on podcasts and call for 20-point blowouts, looking at you, Hunter Dickinson, who went on a Barstool podcast to guarantee a 20-point win. And then last night, it's Bush League. The whole operation's Bush League. He's Bush League. Now, look, you can be a good coach but not be classy. He's not classy. But see, this is the whole point. No one talks about it.
No.
Where's Wojo? Where was the press last night in the postgame to even ask about it, which to my knowledge simply did not happen?
He was redefining whataboutisms. That's what Wojo was doing to make it fit.
I just don't understand how we don't call a spade a spade. Look, I think use of the word thug is disgusting in 2022. I don't think anyone should use it, including fans. But boy, oh boy, that's all you could hear about from Michigan fans as it related to Mel Tucker and Michigan State football. Mm-hmm. And for what? One incident. One incident where one player should be thrown out of school and the other player should be back on the field. One incident where both schools played a role, one more than the other.
Yeah. I mean, at this point...
And there's a culture in East Lansing.
Yes. ...
What's the culture of Michigan basketball?
Where is Ward
Anyone
Manuel?
Want to tell me what that is?
Yeah, where's Ward Manuel? Because he got his panties in a bunch, and he needed the police to come in here, and this is going to be a criminal investigation, and yet things are going on right under your nose, including driving your wife's minivan. Nothing. Silence. Crickets. Still won't talk about it. Where is the outrage, Ward? Where is all the vitriol of how you felt that night as you stood there and just said what a crime it was what Michigan State did? This is the third time in, 9-10 months that there's been problems with Michigan and the end of a game situation. That's a problem.
So do this. First of all, let me disarm you with love, people. Oh, you're just a couple of degenerate Spartans. Okay. Or we're both grown-ass men who can identify blatant hypocrisy when we see it. So let's play a game, kind of like in the movie Saw, except I'm not going to butcher any of you. Just imagine if Michigan State basketball conducted itself in the same way. Tom Izzo punched another coach. Tom Izzo had Cassius Winston crash Mark Hollis's wife's car. And then I looked him in the eye and we had a talk.
Right, and you sat him for the Brown game.
Tom Izzo threatened to kill another coach. Tom Izzo trapping up 30. Oh, and one of Tom Izzo's best players going on a pod calling for a 20-point blowout. Now, what would your reaction be before you waste my time to blurb about Sparty this and that? Put the shoe on the other foot. Do that for me. If you can figure out how to put a shoe on. You're pointing fingers everywhere. Here's the deal. Call a spade a spade. That's all I ask for.
Well,
that's it.
But you won't get that. Because what you'll get is, well, boys will be boys. It wasn't that big of a deal. You guys are making more out of this than it is. But remember, every time I still go back to James Franklin saying, hey, there's a problem in this tunnel, people. Yeah, he's a sore loser. Cutscene 2 weeks later. There's a common denominator from all these different post-game things, Mike, and it's one team. But nobody wants to talk about that one team.
The example I always use, if you go to the bar every weekend with your friends and you end up in a fight, it's you and your friends. Mm-hmm. This is the problem. So here's the deal. You won't call. You won't get involved. But you damn well know your coach runs a low-class program. Straight up.
Yeah.
And I've told you from the very beginning. Now, he can be a good coach and run a low-class program. Jerry Tarkanian did the same thing. Good coach, low-class program. But I ask you, if Duke did this, Kansas did this, North Carolina, Michigan State, Kentucky, any program you want to talk about, point the finger, right? If these incidents happened there, what would you say? So then the question becomes, why do you say any different when it's your own house? And I know why. But that's why Spartans like us find it so laughable. And I don't even need to go down the resumes of the two coaches. But one of them so much as yells at a guy,
oh yeah,
he's a criminal.
Oh, well, remember, he went up to Gabe Brown at halftime, and people lost their mind. He yelled at Aaron Henry. People lost their mind. This is the third time in 10 months that there's been problems at the end of a game with the University of Michigan. Not to mention your coach threatening to kill somebody.
And I think, no, you don't need to hit the button. These cowards won't call. They want no part of it. They are incapable of addressing their own house.
Nope.
Because they are so used to the bought and paid for media telling them the way they want it to be versus the way it actually is. Not a single piece of coverage about this. Not one. And it's not the Hindenburg. It's not DEFCON 1. But what it is a coach who didn't have a handle on his team. Because you explicitly tell your guys before there's ever an issue. And God help any player who doesn't listen. You rip their heads off. It's an embarrassment. And it's the latest in what's a growing long line of them. Mm-hmm. And all I would like to see is coverage.